Chuckloaf 1200 Films podcast, all horror all the time, and I'm in the mood for some polka. Still working on the Bigfoot episode. I keep changing my mind on how I want to present it. Part of me just wants to do a simple little slideshow and evidence presentation, and just part of me wants to do like a little cartoon, not like a silly Bugs Bunny cartoon, just like a little animation. I don't know. I just need to sit down and do something. But I watched a great series on Netflix called Midnight Mass. I believe it's a limited series. It's like 7 episodes. Excellent. Excellent stuff. Highly recommend. Okay, to this week's show, of course, the rating scale. On the bottom, dumpster fire garbage, then can't quite recommend, okay if desperate, put it on the watch list, and then put it on top of the watch list. Nothing today is going on top of the watch list. A lot of mediocre. God. But let's go. Ding ding. 1995. Habit. It's got a 6.4 on IMDb. When you talk about slow burns, there's slow burns and then there's forever burns, because this movie took forever to get going. It's basically like a New Yorker. This movie was done with no money. It's obvious. This New Yorker who's having relationship issues. This guy. And this was back in mid-90s when everything in New York City was dingy and dark and wet, kind of like Gotham. So, this guy meets this woman, and she just progressively gets weirder and weirder. Then finally, in the last, 10 minutes of the film, of this hour-and-a-half movie, something finally happens. Is it worth the wait? No. I hate to give it dumpster fire garbage, but that's what it is. It's a cure for insomnia. Next film. This came out 1 year later, in 1996. Uncle Sam. This got a 4.5 on IMDb. So this soldier, who was mentally unstable to begin with, whose first name is Sam, and he's the uncle of this little boy who's kind of the main character of this movie, so that's why he's Uncle Sam. And his body gets sent back home after he's found dead, or they think he's dead, but he's not dead. So he jumps out of his coffin and finds the stereotypical Uncle Sam costume from this guy at this pre-parade. Kills him, takes the costume, and then he goes on his little spree. For what it is, it's fine, I guess. A little weird slasher. The funny thing is, there's some huge explosions at the end of this movie, and I guess the little town they were filming in, one explosion was a little too big, and it blew out all the windows of the houses within a square mile, and people were pissed, and people said, "Get out of town now." Well, then a few months later, the director realized that he needed to film a few more scenes to this movie and needed to get back into town, so he had to play a little nice and apologize before they let him do anything else in their city. So, but as a movie, it's okay if desperate. It's fine. Next, 2022, The Long Night, 3.7. So this couple inherits a house from some relative they didn't even know or remember. So they decide to go check it out and stay there a little while. If a person you don't even know gives you something that's out in the middle of nowhere, say, how fast can we sell it? Get it out of the way. Don't go check it out. So they go and check it out. And then the guy from the movie Body Parts, remember that movie? That guy shows up and kind of tries to take over, but there's all these cult people outside, and they're just standing there. Nobody knows what they want. They're just kind of hanging out, being spooky. Then they start encroaching and start weaseling their way into the house, and that's when things get interesting. I guess they inherited the house for a reason. But still, it's fine. Nice time killer. Okay if desperate. Next. 2022 Mad God. 6.8. So when I said in the last episode I need to find a list of the top movies of the year so far, so I went to Bloody Disgusting, and they had a top 10 of the best movies so far. Most of them were on pay-per-view now, and they're really expensive, so I'm not going to watch those. Not until they come down in price, or on one of my streaming services. But the best thing to do in that is look at the comments below of all the people that all disagree and say, no, this is the best film so far. No, this is. A few people down there said Mad God was the best film so far of this year. They're wrong. This is going to age me. Remember Tool? That band was big in the mid-90s. I believe they're still touring. And all their music videos look like little episodes from hell. Kind of claymation episodes from hell. This is a 85-minute version of a Tool video. I guess the director pretty much had film students working on this movie for years and years. I guess one scene took 6 people 3 years to do. Now, as a film, it's one of those you can't look away from, and it's disturbing and bizarre. It's not a movie you can watch again, but you kind of, unless you're watching it with someone else and want to gauge their reaction, that could be kind of fun. But as a movie, the only character you can kind of grasp to kind of just vanishes halfway through. Then it's just one weird scene of nonsense after another. Like, okay, I made it this far in the movie, I guess I'll finish it, but I hate to say this with all the effort that went into this, but it's still okay if desperate. Sorry. Next one, 2022 Scream. 6.4. Scream Part 5 or 6 or whatever the hell this is. I was never big on the old Scream films. I watched them all. They were fine. They were time killers. I never watched any of them twice. So I figure I'll watch this once. And you know what? It's probably one of the better ones, if not the best one. The plot is always the same, obviously, but the kills were better. I'll say that. Other than that, it's the same stuff. So, again, okay if desperate. Next one, 2019, Red 11, also known as Hostage 911. This got a 4.8. On the poster, it brags about how this film was made with $7,000. What's his face? Who did I'm blanking on his name. I'm not going to go check it. The one that did Desperado. He made this with $7,000 and did a multi-part documentary showing how he made this movie and how you too can make a good movie with $7,000. Good movie as in slightly above average TV sci-fi channel movie. That's all the credit I'll give this. So this guy needs money. This is apparently Richard Rodriguez. Is it Richard? Okay, I'm going to hit pause and go find out his name. Robert Rodriguez. It's a semi-autobiographical film of when he owed a lot of money to bad people, so he sold his body to science for testing to make some money, and things were really weird, and he kind of made an exaggerated version for his film. And these characters are so hollow. You could just look at the guy in the corner and say, okay, he's going to be the bully, he's going to be the nerd, he's going to be the buddy, and you can tell this all in advance. It's all pretty standard. There's no depth. But hey, if you want to make a good movie with $7,000 and put it on the Lifetime channel, then go for it. What do I rate it? I don't know. Can't quite recommend. It's really not that good. Next, 1983, The Deadly Spawn. 5.9. I almost made this my feature review, but I've got a little bias towards 80s horror films, as everyone knows. This is no exception. This was an excellent little find. Again, a micro budget. The audio, not so great. If they weren't facing the camera, it was a little tough. Not quite turn on subtitles bad, but at some points. So these creatures make their way into this house, and they're just big globs with big teeth on them. They look like something out of Star Wars, like something Jabba would keep in the basement. Put the Rancor next to the other Deadly Spawn glob. Let's put it over there. And there are various sizes. There's one as tall as a person, and there's some that are just little babies that'll crawl in your eyeballs. But yeah. And then it kills people one by one. It's pretty straightforward, but it's fun. Like I said, put it on the watch list. If you're in the mood for good 80s fun, check it out. Gosh darn it. But I'm now on to the feature review of The Stairs.
The trail just goes cold. It's like you just disappeared.
Guys?
Looks like something got to him.
There's a door back here.
Everything in the darkness is haunting.
Over here, you son of a...
Alright. 2021, The Stairs. Only a 4.7 on IMDb. But hey, it won Best Feature at the Haunted House Fear Fest in the UK. That's got to be worth something. It has it listed as co-starring John Schneider. John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard, who's in it for 7 minutes in the beginning. But he's the co-star. This film would have worked better as an 80s movie, I think, because it's simple and straightforward. It's basically a creature feature. So it stars John Schneider and his grandson, who's 11-ish, and they're out hunting in the middle of the woods, and then the boy wanders off like an idiot and finds this staircase in the middle of the woods, just there. So he starts messing around, and then he gets pulled into it. And then John Schneider's like, what the heck? So that's the end we see of them. And then Fast forwards 20 years later, and that's where the movie really starts. This group of friends, the acting not so great in this movie, but it's still well made. One of the friends was a little over the top. He's like that trashy redneck friend. If he had a t-shirt with a Confederate flag on it, it would have put the exclamation point on it, but he didn't, so okay. So they're just out in the woods having fun, getting away from it all, and they find this staircase like the boy had found 20 years earlier, and they're messing around with it, and they go inside of it, and it's like a factory down there. It's like all kinds of stuff, staircases and pipes, and then there's these creatures that start chasing them. It's basically a creature feature movie. They don't really explain what these creatures are, or what they want, or how they got there, or what they're doing, or why they're bad. Oh, and there's one scene earlier with a maggot baby. You'd have to see it to believe it. But still, this was one of those movies I had zero expectations and came through it. You know what? That was alright. So for that, I'll give it, put it on the watch list. I'm not putting it on top of anything, but it's worth a view when you get to it. If you want to see the best thing John Schneider's done, hey, The Stairs. So that's all I got. On the next one, we'll cover a few more recent films, like The Cursed, Sacrifice, Lamb. A lot of people buzzing about The Lamb. I know it's like a Danish movie or a Dutch film. And then there was one called John and the Hole, about this boy that drugs his family and throws them in a hole. Haven't we all wanted to do that at some point? Anyway. Till next time, I'll see you later.